If anyone has a problem with being recorded, let us know, and we won't do the thing because we have a beautiful cameraman over here.
That's if he doesn't just spend the entire day taking selfies.
You might even be on the camera if he gets around to it. But okay, cool.
Right, so ghost stories. We do ghost stories. And also, I'm going to try to memory. Out on the cliff she strides by morn and night, watching the waves for something or someone lost long ago. And as I watch, I wonder, this sad and vigilant lighthouse keeper, waiting for a ship that will never come to shore. Why, I don't watch and wait for you to walk back through the door of our rusting home, embrace me again and tell me everything will be all right in the end. I walk to where she stands. She looks me in the eyes and judges me wanting, with oceans of tears that have run for 100 years. And she takes my hand. We will wait. They will return. And as the coldness of the sea frost takes me too, I cannot wait. I must away. There's too much darkness, too much hurt, too much empty space in starlight to wait for their return. And she laughs, like ancient thunderstorms wreaking their revenge. Oh, my sweet, my lovely, you have returned. You have returned.
That was very...
To start off on a slightly light note, something from Lewis Carroll. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at. Up above the world so high, like a tea tray in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little bat, how I wonder what you're at. I actually bought this for today. Anyway, I've got a question. Do you want to play a game? No, seriously. The poem piece I'm about to do, I have built around horror movie titles. There is a prize if you can guess closest to how many I have used. If you want to take part, write your guess on a piece of paper, put your name, and I will find the person who's closest, and they will get a prize.
What's the prize?
It's a surprise.
It's a prize.
It's a surprise.
Can I have a piece of paper, please, and a pen?
At least with a sticky card.
This may be more of a logistical problem than first thought.
I'm like,
Most people here will have some paper and figure, but
Write on your phone.
no, because then I could be cross the street in.
Oh, no, it's all got the shit now. I have a pen also. I have
So
various...
now the next question is someone got a pen.
Yes, I shall
We're in
provide.
a room full of poets. We didn't have a pen.
Yes, you've got a pen.
right.
All the pens.
Sorry,
It's
guys.
got a pen.
So, is everybody
Can I have a
ready?
pen off it? Set back.
It is the season of the witch. You'll have a scream. It's not Friday the 13th. No, it's Fright Night. It's Halloween. Darkness falls. Time to trick or treat. Say goodbye to the house at the end of the street. Leave all the loved ones behind, because from dusk till dawn, only All Hallows Eve is on your mind. Anticipation of the visits to each house, the gift of the Candyman at each door. From house to house you go with the girl next door. The shining of bright candle-filled eyes, of pumpkin-head scarecrows and the neon demon glowing. The ritual carried out on each porch. Knock, knock, but remember, don't knock twice. At the last house on the left, the orphanage where babysitter answers. Rosemary's baby cries within for Mama and the dead father. The frightening noise echoes and resonates until you move on. Don't look now, but the fog is rolling in. An insidious blanket, a hush descends. The mist makes this a quiet place. There's always one house with lights out, that is sinister, but one that makes you stare. And as you make the descent down the silent hill, you see at last your final destination, standing among the pines, a cabin in the woods. You turn and look at each other. Time for truth or dare. Rock, paper, scissors, it's you going up there. Creeping past the devil's gate, the conjuring of the dark builds up a fear in your mind. The portal of this house lies in shadow. The devil's doorway stands dark and foreboding, hammering on the wood like the Tommyknockers knocking the walls at the door. The door swings open. Look behind you. She nods nervously. I will follow you into the dark. Slam! The other side of the door, implacable and solid, housebound, a vibration shivers over the walls. Paranormal activity subsumes the normal poltergeist striation grip the air. This house on Haunted Hill groans and twists. Memory unfolds. This is where the Lost Boys go, the repository of the others, Satan's playground full of the strangers, home of the damned. Don't breathe. All noise amplified, terror at what lies beneath, the thing that will drag me to hell. Escape, flee the sound from below. It comes at night, shifting, questing, a hellraiser like the omen of the evil dead. Get out, no way out. The exorcist, absent, no Ouija, none, or seance to help. Whispering corridors, wishing stairs were a flight to freedom. Steps like the devil's backbone, holding the people under the stairs. Like the event horizon and a wrong turn, reality slips, sinking into unsane places. The ring of pale light, it follows like hereditary hope in a crush of claustrophobia, plays over the boy and the witch, the eyes of the woman in black penetrating another soul, saying, "You're next." I'm not counting them.
We wouldn't have to write down all of it.
No, impossible. I wrote this first one for Vampires and Verse the other week. That was really nice, and I've really struggled to write a Halloween themed poem. So instead, what I did, I subverted the genre of vampires to fit into my, well, brand of mental health, because I will twist anything into my brand of words and writing and whatever. So this is Psychic Vampire. When I asked some friends about what's wrong with me, there are many theories, but it all comes back to the same thing. You're a psychic vampire. Does that mean that I feed from the poor souls that stray into my path, clamping my jagged teeth against their jugular as I rip the life from them? I found out, only slightly disappointing, that no, that's not what it means. Instead, it's a lot more mundane. Feeding from the energy of others, psychic vampires are negative and self-pitying creatures, more likely to shy away from a stranger in an alley than to try to rip their throat out. The scourge of friendly gatherings, rather than the city's underbelly. And to the unimaginative, that's all it is. But to me, no, there is power here. I will make this mine, craft it into some craven monster and breathe insidious life. So watch as I drain your motivation. Listen as I devour your hopes and your dreams. I am the scourge of this city, my friend, and your soul belongs to me. Alright, after the first of me reading someone else's piece last month for spoken word, I'm doing something else and reading a friend's piece that they wrote, and they're too embarrassed to come up and perform it, so I'm doing it for them. This is False Promises. To the man who said he would always protect me, and the woman that said she would never leave. Why lie? Man, you said you wouldn't let anyone hurt me, or if they did, boom. The man that made false promises and gave false hope. Why lie? To the man that hurt me the most by letting someone else hurt me. That's what I mean by false promises, because you said you'd protect me and you didn't. Why would you lie? And to the woman, how could you leave at that time in my life when everyone else had gone? The one person that I thought wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't. Why fucking lie? I had no one. Why? Because what the fuck is loyalty? What the fuck is friends? And please tell me what is family? I've been taught that I'm on my own. Now that's not a lie.
I don't know who wrote that, but damn.
This special person.
Why would you do that? Come find girl later, it'd be great. I'm going to shift it all around. Clint, it's you. Surprise.
You're getting the best side. This first poem, I should warn you in advance, contains one or two violent scenes. You would think that someone who gave all their profits to found a hospital for people suffering from leprosy would probably be someone celebrated by society, but in 1725 that wasn't the case. I've called this poem The Apotheosis of Leendart Hassenbach. His ghost appears every night and beckons me into his arms. I wake in sin. Sunrise and my castaway trial continues. I am repentant in my search of water, repudiate my crime each night. Wherever I tread, his ghost treads lighter, wails more loudly, implores the bindings round his wrists be cut. I see my lover bound in a sack, tossed into the wild ferment, the ocean dilutes his screams. At home, men like us are sealed in a barrel of water. Why wasn't that my fate? They jeered, spat, cast me ashore, left a tent, a barrel, a knife, a pot, a Bible to effect a cure, one man on a barren volcanic island. Each day I follow goats to find water. Each night my phantom assails me. Should love be punished so? The Bible says I sin, so I read, declaim, recite to flightless birds, rats, turtles. Hearing the deeds of men doesn't make them better or redeem their cruelties. I, Leendart Hassenbach, once had need of a man for love. They murdered him and cast me away. Now I understand the greater cruelty. Every day I want to live. Every day is a fight to survive. Water. The island has but a drip. I suck blood from turtles, drink piss. I write my journal. Days are followed by long nights. I've had time to consider death. It stalks me. October the 9th. I once had the love of a man. October the 10th. I once had love. October the 11th. I once had. October the 12th. I once. October the 13th. Ditto. October the 14th. I hate to tell you that's entirely a true story and shows what can happen when things get out of control at the start of the 18th century. There are no cross equivalents today. So, lightening the mood a bit. The 1920s film Nosferatu, called that because Dracula was still in copyright, so they couldn't use the name Dracula. So this is Nosferatu. 5 fingers outstretched proclaim his shadow on the wall, the chill of fear, the chance his gaze will create a thrall. For what is life if we find neither love or desire? It's like a shadow from a flame which cannot create a fire. A darkness of the sun which sucks out all our light. A man with no reflection. yet his shade casts round like night. The vampire Nosferatu stalks our streets. His canine teeth pierce like a knife to feast on warm and pulsing blood, which draws out life, yet preserves the undead in its only act of good. Created by the horror of nightmare or shadow's creep, and yet there is redemption when the victim wakes from sleep, that reincarnated love might stay his murderous ways for a smile, a kiss, as his life dissolves with dawn's first rays. Thank you.
Am I going to obey the list or not?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Yes.
Me? I've got right here. I might need a little bit of audience participation.
Woo!
If you hear the word thump, do that to the table. If you hear the word bump, underneath. Okay. Is it there? Is it real? That slow, hollow thump, bump. What did I hear? That sound. What was it? And where? Thump. Was it in the walls, in the hall, wainscoting, on the stairs? Thump. Maybe the chair by the top stair. That one just there. Thump. I'm hearing things again in the air as I live, as I live, as I lie in bed. Bump. Hollow, slow thump. There it is again. I swear I heard it, but where? Bump. Oh heck, what shall I do? Can you sue a noise, a ghost that goes bump? Oh, this isn't funny anymore. I'm scared. Everything wooden, firmly screwed down. Thump. It's closer now to the bedroom door. I fancy it's having a ball. Bump. Just what is it that's making me jump at a thump or a bump? Oh, it's the cat! How daft is that? Silly old cat. Or is it?
No killing other poets.
You right, Bob?
Bob's not a troll, Bob's concussed.
Okay, so the first poem that I have was sort of written specifically for Halloween, and so it's quite new, so it might be a bit like rough and ready, but it's kind of bit of gothic melodrama, I guess. Just to warn people in advance, there's some quite like visceral violence and implied sexual assault, so just those topics are in there, just to warn everyone. But it's called The Witch Way. It wasn't when her sister died we thought of her, though all the ladies were there knitting, when poor Lucy laid the needle to her slightly parted lips, leaning forward, checking patterns, slipped, and pushed the blunted point up through soft palate and inside into the brain. It was when the baby rolled and onto an upturned hatpin pushing through his still soft skull's back that our thoughts turned to Rebecca. Rebecca, the eldest daughter, 33, had been a beauty, 3 months her stepmother's junior, with dark hair and slate grey eyes. She was never fond of church, and though she was an able seamstress, she'd been seen to prick her fingers, squeezing blood into the washstand until she could bleed no more. It was the day after the baby that the gamekeeper's grey bitch died, but whelped 5 young, and a month from then we found Rebecca dandling on her knee, a pitch-black pup, the sole survivor of that litter that she'd treasure and would later be seen with walking on the hills. There was a hush about the house, for the family was in mourning, but no one ever saw Rebecca shed a single tear. and it was a cold October morning when they were laying down the railway that Rebecca was seen dancing with the navvies on the tracks. She had brought them up some victuals, but she surely itched the mischief, for she engaged the workers in cotillions and gavottes. The dog ran round the dancers, barking to bring down the heavens, but Rebecca merely laughed and whirled and smiled. On Christmas Eve the town was quiet and joyful in devotion, but peace was to be disturbed, and in a most infernal way, when the 435 from Manchester came hurtling on the hill. The noise was fit to shake the devil, and the speed was surely lethal in itself, even had it not come right off the tracks. The engine and 2 carriages came tumbling down the hillside, and in the pandemonium the fire spread from the cab. The town was all in terror, and we went out to see the carnage and to try and save the souls that hadn't perished in the crash. And it was inside the wreckage that they found Rebecca's brothers, both up by surprise from London and both already gone. One skull was forced in by some metal that we think was from a window, and the other was the same, but it was from the luggage rack. Christmas morning service was unattended by Rebecca, and it was in the days that followed that her stepmother confided, hysterical poor woman, she feared for her very life. But her father held her fondly, for she looked just like her mother, and no action would be taken, although all around could plainly tell. But his wife feared not much longer, for not a month into the new year, Rebecca was discovered by a stile on the hillside. She had stab wounds on her belly, had been slashed across her face, and if she had cried out, it was blown off with the wind. Her skirts were hitched up round her stomach, and some feet away the dog had been beheaded, though we don't know if that happened before the lady's death. They never found who did it, but were inclined to throw suspicion on a pack of vagabonds who must have stalked the moors that night. God save me, but my thought is in the ridding of Rebecca, that they did us a great favour, for we're good God-fearing people, and we won't have that round here. Since then the town's been quiet. Her stepmother's had a daughter, and we pray no new Rebecca harm a hair on the child's head, or bring tears to storm grey eyes. And then to lighten the mood, I have a sort of love poem called Good Fortune. Unaffected, flights of birds stayed true past your arrival, and if there was an omen to discern in tire-smashed pigeons, as I waited in the cold, I did not see it. Similarly, my hands, red raw, blistered, itching, any lifelines of significance concealed between the strata of flaking skin. Yesterday's horoscopes, read in old newspapers in the break room, were unhelpful, and you weren't there when she bid me cut the deck. The cards not turning up the lovers, or the devil, or Christ in the world bursting forth from his side wound, but only swords, pentacles, and the insipid angel of temperance. Unexpected. When we met there was no fire or crashing thunder or bright lights, a single instance of revelation, but only a series of ordinary instances that combined to something beautiful and unforeseen.
Talented people, I get very overwhelmed, sorry. This is cool. Hi.
What? Oh shit.
Oh, are you concussed? Are we good?
How many fingers?
He's fine. That's pretty normal.
I was once so drunk the paramedics couldn't tell if I was concussed or not.
Oh dear.
Yes! Finally! Right, so
I was speaking Italian to the doctor, and he was like, "What?"
I just vomited on them.
Oh my god, it illustrates perfectly.
So I'm going to content warn this for violence and gore. It's not very Halloweeny, but it's going to scare you. So we're going to start with a little straw poll. Give me a cheer if you want to live in a socialist utopia.
Woo!
Yes, given this demographic, that's about the response I would have expected. But in the interest of democracy, because that's very popular at the minute, give me a cheer if you don't want to live in a socialist utopia. No, I'm taking that either because there's nobody here or you're just quiet given the demographic that's in this room.
I think I'll settle for any utopia at this point.
Yeah, that's actually a fair result. So, yeah, so then follow-up question. I'm going to ask Glenn personally. Glenn, how many people are you willing to kill to bring about the socialist utopia?
None.
None?
Yeah.
That's very generous assessment of the other side of the equation here. Like, we're going to bring about the socialist utopia, no one has to die. Right, okay, no, that's fair. You are entitled to your views. How many people are you willing to kill to bring about the socialist utopia?
12.
12. That's very specific. Like, once you go hit 12, that's it? That's it? Okay. No, that's fair. You're a committed anti-fascist. How many confirmed kills do you have?
Last count. None.
None. So you've killed no Nazis yourself, personally.
Not even.
You've
punched
not
them.
torn any actual Nazi scalps from actual Nazi skulls, like that Tarantino movie, but the blood is real and not embellished for comedic effect. How many people have to fucking die before we have a world that doesn't kill them for us? Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's hurl their heads from the highest ramparts, rampant as the lions on the banners we're burning atop their battlements. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's pillage the rich and privileged, stitch their lips tight so they can't scream beneath the guillotine. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's pucker the lips on the politicians' ugly mugs with punches. If they're both equally evil, let's hang them equally high. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's drip dry the bodies of the old and ill-informed, the disenfranchised and the reactionaries. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's bathe in the baying of the crowds, cheering not for what we believe in, but for the spectacle. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath until the blood runs dry, and then realize that the paradise we've built is a bloodbath. And a bloodbath must stay wet, so let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let's pile high the grinders with our former friends who shed tears of pity for our previous victims. Well, if you love them so much, you can join them. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Crack the knuckles of our brothers against our brothers' cheeks. Now there's no Nazis left to punch. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Hack the meat from our mothers who don't meet our standards of compassion. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Come the glorious new dawn. It's suns out, guns out for the comrade who aims straight but deviates equivalently in his ideology. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. Let every dispute be settled with steel. Let's build a bloodbath, comrades. Let's build a bloodbath. We're an ambitious bunch. We'll build a paradise with blood. We're an ambitious bunch. Our goals are high and hard to reach, so I beseech you, teach. Killing is easy. Foundations built with ease will shake and break. Just take a look at your world. See how easily it was built with blood, and see now how it shakes in the face of those willing to work hard to build a new one. So let the bastards know why you fight them. Let them know why your violence is justified. If you see one in the street, break his fucking nose, but make sure he knows why. Teach them. The dead cannot be taught. Each new dead bastard is still a bastard. And if you're gonna kill the dog, you've still gotta clean up its shit. Teach them, because teaching is hard and killing is easy. And if you want the easy ride to paradise, go side with the bastards, because they're the best bet you're ever gonna get. And you can kill to your heart's content, and it will be easy. The rest of us will teach or die trying, die teaching. We will build a paradise where death does not decide who was right. And how dare we strive to such a paradise via death? We will teach, and we will die before our world learns. But our foundations, built in hardship, will stand strong and ever long and will not shake. So if you're in it for the glory or the vengeance, flock to the flanks of the wolves while their flag still flies, because you, like they, need to learn. So by all means, build a bloodbath, comrades. But when my clean chops drop to the chopping block, don't look me in the eyes and call it a paradise. Woo! Woo!
creation. That there will be things you don't understand. There are things that I mentioned that you don't understand. You want to know more? The first part of this, because it's a character chapter set, there were going to be 5 chapters. The first chapter I've already read to some people here. It's called Rose's Secrets, and it's a film about Rose having secrets. That's just the gist of it. So the second one is where I'm going to start. It's called Uncommon Fledgling. It takes place in a place called Alarion in the year 734. Regarding my reasons for choosing to give you this gift, well, for one, you're uncommonly intelligent. Another is your drive to achieve your passions. I also admire your strength of character. The most important one is not something I can adequately put into words. That last part really did sound like I didn't know why I chose her. To some degree, this is true. Yet from the moment I noticed her, sat in the library doing what she does best, I could tell she was special. Hard to think that was just a few weeks ago. So much has happened since then. I'd like to think it all turned out for the best. As it is with us, time will undoubtedly tell. I had certainly not intended upon converting anyone at the time I passed through Salarak, nor had I ever before for that matter. After my loss, it was hardly on my list of things to even ponder, let alone carry out, despite numerous and often obnoxious requests. However, there was something about Cynthia that I could not help but feel intrigued by. Well, several things, in point of fact. Upon her request to know why I chose her, I was more than happy to respond in full, detailing as much as I could as to why I thought she would make a good vampire. As Cynthia was understandably cautious of me in my motives, I was as open and honest with her as possible. I told my fledgling to be that I found her to be a beautiful individual, full of passion, confidence, compassion, and just the right amount of fire in her veins to make her, well, rather a lot more exciting than myself, that's for sure. And her forthright demeanor towards all things physical, now that is something I certainly admire in her. It's not something I'd normally desire to partake in, and so as she's definitely more brave than I in those matters, I am in awe of her sheer confidence. Cynthia is a wholly dedicated young lady, throwing herself with every effort at all things pertaining to her chosen subject of archaeology. I recall her almost literally pouncing on me when I told her I lived at the time of the ancients. Her enthusiasm is invigorating, contagious even, which is why I entrusted her with one of my many great secrets. I've been carrying around that one for centuries. It's time it fell into better and more appreciative hands. I also explained to Cynthia that I was choosing her for the very reason she is not an interest. Every other vampire thus far has been devoted to our god, but not Cynthia. She acknowledges its existence, but holds no opinion one way or another about it. She was therefore chosen because I feel the very fact she is external to the rest of us will lend a singular perspective on not just the elders, but the entire vampire species. In short, I believe she will become an invaluable asset in balancing the Council's decisions. Cynthia is, entirely determined to use her new powers to pursue her career as a discoverer of lost history. This is not just fascinating from the point of view of watching her so heartily discuss her passion, but also for the fact she was not interested in the slightest in possessing or utilizing her powers for any other path than her vocation. I must admit this was deeply touching and refreshing to see, and was yet another reason I desired to convert her. That has not altered, and I hold no regrets on making her. However, I do regret not informing her more on her cores and how to control and hone them. I taught her a few briefly, such as how to run, feed, form a shield, and forge a black flame, but all with limited and minimal successes. Admittedly, at her newborn age, this is not outside recognized norms. However, I failed to even mention the future-telling seer core and offensive summoning of stakes, and I know she would have appreciated more time going over both the cloak core and how to feed. She was understandably ired about that. I am truly sorry I didn't have more time. Additionally, in retrospect, I realized just how inconsiderate it was to convert and not warn someone who has faced adversity and discrimination their entire life of the enormous level of negativity many members of the public hold against our kind. I admit this is partially because I was aware she is clever, and so I assumed she already knew. But I feel I should have done more. I should have told her anyway. Damn it. There was so much more I could have done for her if only I'd had more time. Surely I could have waited and gone back at some point. There's no way of truly knowing if my ambassadorial duties would have even allowed for it. I am uncomfortable using that as an excuse. At least she knows this, and we parted on rather amiable terms. I am not ashamed to confess that I really hope to see her again. And if anyone fucks with my fledgling, I swear. Wait, is this what being a mother's like? I genuinely never saw this for myself. Never did I even think I would. Not after what happened all those years ago. Still, I am glad I made her, even though my decision was rushed. She's truly unique, and I know she is more than capable of taking care.
There's one person in this room who's heard this before, but I thought I'd do it again because it is a bit scary, and it's not something I'll write about very much. Still 6 hours, 58 minutes left. 1,000 mils of fluid, 5% glucose. Would you like some of my intravenous? I've got 2, you see, enough to share. To show I care, I'll let you have the larger. I'm sorry, does it hurt? It hurts me too. An unpleasant, uncomfortable pain, impossible, all inside my tiny vein. He refused the offer, of course. He's the healthy visitor, I the patient. I made him laugh, though, with a hearty flow of chuckles that made me smile. Smiles are rare these days. If only they came in packets of IV fluid. Like the rest of the stuff that keeps me ever so slightly still human. I told him my conclusions, philosophical as always, though no treatise. I share a room with a carousel, observing all around me from a fixed plot, bed 2, ward 6, Halifax. During this time, I found that dying is the worst of all here. Life is a given, tricky, long, messy. Death is a mere farce. You've done it before. Dying, however, what an art. Prolonged pain, constant confusion, disillusion. Screaming because she doesn't know she's here, trying to escape but unable to get out. Tubes, tests, food, nurses, pills, observation, on and on, repetition, the rhetoric of rehabilitation. Alive, practically speaking, dead. There's another art that I may choose. Almost as slow and painful as dying. But backwards. He leans in, listening. Recovery. That word etched upon my tongue. I am still young. Recovery versus dying. Being neither afraid of death nor truly afraid of life, having managed both before. I have to choose between 2 tortures. That is, if we agree I have a choice. Some say I do, some I do not. It's within me, the decision, but I believe not in free will. So, I'll take the old school scales, weigh my options, and yet still, I let fate decide. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to finish this set with Rose, if that's cool.
Go on, Rose.
Yes.
Woo!
Crawling up here. How did that not hurt your throat?
Oh, you've heard me scream.
I know, that's true. That's true.
That was the other one I was maybe going to do.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That actually will hurt your it just, he
I'm
screams, actually screams in it. Anyway, so I've just got 2 little poems. And one I wrote when I was a graduate student. Gwen, how are you, Gwen? All right. So I wrote, it's nice to see you. Glenn was my intern, and I'm sitting behind him. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's Glenn's neck. And I was like, and it was.
It's an iconic neck.
You know, I'm sitting here, and I said, that's Glenn's neck. And being Halloween, you just wanted, but no, I didn't do that. Because that was bad.
Oh.
I think not. All right. So I just had these memorized, and I don't anymore, so that's just 2 guys. I have bits of paper in front of me. The Carlisle Club. I went out with the witches of Eastwick, and I, the accepted crone, danced and drank a beer and watched with awe the pulsing youth. Blonde flappers' curls, short straight brown, or flat matte with Asian cheekbones. each perfection in her own right, thin or athletic or voluptuous, each perfection, casting spells, weaving watchers in with careless apathy, electric with power, careless, joyous power. Watch as they dance as one, as close as molecules, this sensuous tango of friends with careless, choreographed perfection. I went out with the witches of Eastwick last night. The accepted crone, pulsing, powerful youth. Oh, all of us, electric. And this implicates me in an ancient crime, and it's true. Back in 1975, so there's a bit of murder in this, and it's true. A nephew of, no, that wasn't my crime, but anyway, that I'll talk about.
You're
now.
a doctor?
The one I haven't talked. Anyway, so this guy was related to the Kennedys, as in John F. and Bobby, and my friend, his neighbor, Martha, and basically a Me Too kind of thing, had apparently rebuffed his advances. And he sought revenge by taking the family golf clubs that said Skakel and beating her to death with a golf club. And then my other friend Olivia found her the next day. So suddenly we were 15 and she wasn't 15 anymore. And it was really a shock. And then he was caught years later. Anyway, we just knew it was Skakel. And the Greenwich cops wouldn't do anything because it was Greenwich, Connecticut. So, vandals. With gleeful outrage, as if a baseball bat could undent Martha's skull, my brother and I swung our bats at the only Skakel mailbox we knew, a mile or two from us, toward the wealth. Guilt set in a few years later, a righteous crusade replaced by reason. Wrong Skakel. Only Anne Skakel lived on our side of town. Sorry. Anne, whose daughter valued me a friend, a child who with me whispered at darkened ceilings at many happy sleepovers, a child whose uncles had been Bobby and John. Her pink ice cream cone-looking failure of a cousin spews gospel verse and cardboard complaints of bad luck, bad loss, bad life. No compassion stirs. None for an immature frenzy, easy drugs, a boozy impulse. None as if a baseball bat could undent Martha's skull. I swung my bat at the only Skakel mailbox I knew. My misplaced vandalism, just a thoughtless act of many a Greenwich teen grown wild. His hateful blows crushed. Sorry. Stupid. His hateful blows crushed more.